Philip, have you got the panel for presentation?
Yes, yes. I'm
Yeah,
just sharing the screen.
Yeah, your screen is up. Great.
Can I start?
Yeah, please, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening to all. On behalf of the management, principal, and Department of Commerce of Ethraj College for Women, I extend a very warm and hearty welcome to our eminent resource person, Mr. Philip Verghese. Mr. Philip is an analytics veteran, entrepreneur, thought leader, and a visionary in digital transformation and innovation. He is currently Vice President and Global Lead in Applied Intelligence Analytics and Innovation at Accenture Security. Prior to this, he was co-founder and CEO of Datum Informatics Private Limited, which is a big data analytics and artificial intelligence firm. Mr. Philip has around 17 plus years of rich and extensive cross-functional experience and expertise in artificial intelligence, cyber intelligence, next-gen cyber defense, disruptive innovation, and cognitive decision systems. He is a much sought-after keynote speaker in various national and international conferences. Sir, we are extremely honored to have you with us today to enlighten us on the topic, developing a future workforce for the business analytics and artificial intelligence-driven enterprises. Welcome to you, sir. Also, a very warm welcome to all the enthusiastic participants who have registered for the webinar. I understand there are about 520 registrations with a few from abroad. I'm sure we'll have a very fantastic learning experience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Harish, just a quick confirmation that you're able to hear me well, and you can see the screen as well.
Perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
yes.
Both good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the kind introduction. Thank you, Harish and Miles Wiley, for the opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with all of you. So today, the topic has been selected as developing a future workforce for the AI-powered enterprise. So I'm sure that most of you are already aware of the artificial intelligence and analytics capability, how enterprises are really leveraging this, and what are the opportunities bringing. But today, I'm going to give you a high-level overview in terms of how enterprises are adopting artificial intelligence, how companies are really leveraging to really grow their business, how industries are completely transforming, how government is really leveraging AI, and even in our home and houses, how AI is coming in, touching our every corner of the life, right? So that's what I'm going to cover today. Before I start, I just want to have a small disclaimer that though I work in Accenture, and today whatever the content I'm showing you and sharing with you is completely based on my knowledge as well as based on the research what I do. There is no content or reference point from Accenture, so it's nothing related to Accenture what I'm showcasing here. As ma'am introduced, I have about 17 years experience in analytics, AI, and cyberspace. I share my knowledge across various national and international conferences, and also I work with a lot of academia in the board of studies, as well as I do guest faculties and faculty development programs and so on to share my knowledge. I did my MSc MPhil in mathematics, so that's my background. I am based out of Bangalore, right? So this brief introduction about me. Today, there are so many technologies and disruptive innovations are there across the globe. Many new things are coming to our lives. There are a lot of studies and researches happening across how these new emerging exponential future systems are completely changing the way we are going to live in. Based on the research what Gartner did it, they are predicting about top 10 strategic technology trends for 2020 in the next decade. One of them is completely driven by artificial intelligence and analytics. So today I'm going to mostly focus on how analytics and AI is completely changing the world, and I would like to also share a few insight into how in accounts and finance and commerce, how analytics is being used. I want to share a few examples as well, and then probably we can spend some time in question and answer, so that we can ask your some of your questions and thoughts and suggestions you can share as well, and we can spend some time there. So hyper automation is one of the top 10 technology trends, and this hyper automation is also powered by artificial intelligence. Then you can see that autonomous things. I'm going to cover all of these things in using a lot of examples, along with how AI is really empowering and enabling them. And you can see human augmentation. This is another area how AI is completely changing in multiple industries and areas as well. AI is also used heavily in security, right from national security to cyber security. AI is heavily used. We are going to see a lot of examples how AI and analytics is really changing the world, and how it is relevant for us, and why it is extremely required to enable, empower, and to develop our next generation to work and deal and manage and drive this AI powered systems. And that's the theme of the session today. Today, as all of you know, that we are living in a knowledge engineering world, and that knowledge engineering is going to drive the knowledge economy, right? So in simple layman's language, what is knowledge engineering and what is knowledge economy? All of you, including each one of us, even on this seminar, even in this example of the seminar itself, we are conducting through a digital channel, right? A digital medium. Today, anything and everything what we do is through a digital medium, right? So whether we are ordering a food through some app, or booking a ride like Ola or Uber through a transportation or a travel requirements through a digital app, or booking a railway ticket through IRCTC portal, recharging our mobile phones, watching movies, listening to songs, almost anything and everything today we are kind of living in a digital system, right? One of the most interesting and important aspects of this digital systems are, whether it is an app or a website or anything which is connected to the internet, which is helping us to make all these things happen. On the backside, whether we know or not, whether we like or not, a lot of data is being produced. Now, anything, whether just simply clicking on a link or visiting a website or making a chat or putting a post in Facebook, whatever we do, there is a lot of data is being generated. Now, this data can be engineered or processed to create a lot of knowledge. So when you can amass this large volume of knowledge and data and then engineer, you will be able to build a lot of intelligence and insights, which can help the companies to grow further, and they can innovate and disrupt the entire industry by itself. And that process is called knowledge engineering. So how do you manage this huge amount of data which is produced across multiple digital channels, multiple digital touch points, and then once we engineer this, we'll get a lot of intelligence insight which will empower organizations to grow bigger, and that will drive the economy. And that is where the knowledge will drive the economy, and the knowledge economy will be a must. So this is what is knowledge engineering and knowledge economy. The fundamental things behind all these things are nothing but data, analytics, and AI. Simple. And a lot of additional capabilities like automation and other things will come into place, which is not possible with the help, without the help of data, analytics, and AI. So that's what we're going to see in the next coming slides. Now, as I mentioned, anything and everything we come across in our life, every touch point and everything what we do, there will be some kind of an AI will come into picture. Example, today, most of you might have used an Amazon.in or Flipkart.com for purchasing some materials or fonts or things like that. Even if 1 lakh people logging into any of these portals or any of these solution websites, you will see different product recommendations for each of them. How that is possible? How a simple website can give 1 lakh different combination of products and services based on our profile? It's not that easy, right? It takes a lot of processing, knowledge, information, contextualization to recommend certain products based on your background. If you're a male, then obviously you will get a lot of products and services what is required for a male. For a female, similarly, right? Dress materials or fashion items or whatever it is. So how it is possible? It is nothing but a lot of knowledge is processed in the backend using analytics, advanced analytics, and AI that will help to really make this happen, right? It is applicable anywhere and everywhere. I'm going to show a lot of examples how this is possible. Even in today's TV, when you put, you can see an advertisement where a small girl is calling her grandfather to go out and saying that Amazon or Alexa, turn off my AC in my bedroom. So it is just that girl is just giving a verbal command to a machine, right? Turn off my AC in my bedroom. How the machine knows that whether the AC has to be turned off or turned on, because the girl is telling in a verbal command, right? The machine has to understand that verbal command. There is also an AI playing in the background. So let's look at some of these interesting examples in the upcoming slides. So we all know that when we all went to schools and in our very young age, we all studied A for Apple. But our next generation, I personally believe that they would be learning A for artificial intelligence, because the world they are going to live in, or the world they are going to born itself, is going to be in the hands of AI, because the hospitals are completely empowered by analytics and AI based solutions, right? So you'll have doctors and nurses supported by artificial intelligence systems. You will be having a robot by itself within the operation theater, or robot itself will be doing the surgery to take the baby out, like the cesarean, right? There could be so many things which are going to happen. I'm going to show you examples how world is changing. But before coming into such details of that, how it is all possible, we just want to give you some kind of a background and context why all this happening, and where it all started, and how it is developing into the next generation systems. Now, all of us are leaders, all of us are finance experts or accounting experts, or business leaders, or professors or teachers. So imagine that you are the CFO, chief financial officer of a large company, and you are you always you always look for the best of the best results in your in your role. Being a CFO, being a leader, being in any leadership position, your majority of the time you will be spent is in taking decisions. So your job is, your primary job is to take decision. That is what the role of a leader. But if you need to take the right decision, you need the right data, you need the right information, and you need it at the right time, right? Then only you'll be able to take the right decision. But today what happens is, actually Tom will be standing like this, because you will be having Tom will have a lot of data, a lot of information, a lot of context, but he doesn't know which direction to go, because there's so much of information. And this is applicable to for us also, right? When we are studying for the higher education course, or when we are switching a job, or when we are purchasing something, we have so many options. Earlier, when we have to purchase a small mobile, we can just go ahead and purchase the Nokia 1100, right? It's the lowest, I mean, the smallest mobile and lowest mobile, but the best mobile. It is so easy because you don't have so much of options. But today you have 10,000 options, which one you purchase, right? Similarly, in a large organization, you need to look at so much of data points to take a decision, and most of the time you don't know how to take a better decision, or what is the right decision, you don't know, right? Because we have so much of data. Now what happened actually 15 to 20 years ago, there are so many organizations across the world, they didn't have so many softwares. Even my father, I still remember, he was coming from office with a lot of books. He was also an accountant. I didn't understand what he used to write in that one, because I was very young. Then I realized a lot of numbers he used to write, because he was doing a lot of entry, right? Journal entries and bookkeeping and everything he was writing manually in the books. But today, can you see, even in a small shop, there will be a tally software, right? So you can see that many of these manual accounting job itself is getting automated using softwares. And it is not only just one software you are looking at. You are looking at so many different systems today. Earlier, only one account software or one sales software, that's it, or one receipt software. But today, if you look at, you have so many different tools and technologies and systems. For human resource management, one software; payroll management software; procurement management; vendor management; sales management. fraud management, risk management, so many different tools and technologies today we have, because there are so many different systems. Earlier, if you had to look at only a few number of reports, few rows of records, today you have to look at millions of records, thousands of reports, hundreds of softwares are there, so much of things to consider for taking a decision, right? For example, external data is going to be extremely important today. What is your competition doing? What kind of regulatory requirements the government is bringing, and how that is going to impact your business? Earlier, nothing was important. You just look at your sales, you just look at your cash flow. You could take a decision being a CFO, right? Or cash flow or balance sheet and P&L. You are able to take a decision. But today, you cannot take those things all alone into consideration and take a right decision. You cannot do that, because there are many other things. Your competition can be completely coming and killing you, right? For example, another example, in the European government brought in a new law called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. Now, if you cannot adhere to that law, you cannot operate, and even if you operate, you will be fined globally millions of dollars. So every data is going to be important from that perspective: external data, internal data, competitive data, so many different systems this data is producing. So Tom cannot look at this 200 million data and thousands of reports at one step and take a decision. It's very difficult. But that time is so past. Today, if you look at anything and everything in this world is getting connected, right? So your future finance system is connected to procurement is connected to supply chain is connected to sales, sales is connected to customer experience. In that one, fraud and risk will come into picture. Your marketing experience will come into picture. Your brand will come into picture. And today, anything and everything, your vendors, suppliers, contractors, your logistics partners, all the data is extremely important, right? So you're talking about 20 to 200,000 records to 200 million records to 20 billion records of data every day coming into the system. And there are tens of thousands of reports to consider before taking a decision. And every data today, it is going to be important. Every data. And there will be unknown dimension. Unknown dimensions means you will not be able to say that, okay, if I do these 10 things, my business will be 300% growth in the next 2 years. You cannot say that, because unknown dimensions, we cannot even predict what kind of risk which can come into picture. Simplest example, Corona. In any of the organization, any of the finance executives or the risk managers, they would have never imagined that a pandemic like COVID would come and completely disrupt their operations, bring down their balance sheet, bottom line, top line, everything. They would not have even imagined, right? So this is where unknown dimension. This is the complex situation Tom and most of us are living today, right? Now, this is the most simplest, I think the simplest way of managing things, but this is 20 years back, and this already crossed. And today we are living in this world, right? Per second, billions of records are being generated, 10,000 reports to be monitored, unknown dimension, right? Now, what Tom will do when the data is coming so huge is nothing but, okay, let me get some clarity, zoom this data and show me. But again, it will look like this, right? So the problem is actually still Tom will not be able to take the decision by looking at this report, because he will not be able to understand anyway. Now, this is where we would need this whole complex, huge volume of data to be processed, analyzed, and visualized and delivered to Tom to take the better decision. So this data has to be converted into a meaningful, actionable intelligence, like what you see at the right-hand side. So this process is called analytics. In a layman's language, if you wanted to really define analytics in the very simple way, is nothing but processing, analyzing, and visualizing this large volume of data, complex data, into simple, meaningful, actionable intelligence and insights. This is called analytics. This is a very big subject by altogether. Under analytics, there are tens or hundreds of different subtopics are there. Today we are not going to discuss everything because we don't have the time here. So what I am going to show you is actually what kind of analytics are there, how companies are really adopting, and especially in finance and accounting and commerce, how this analytics is useful. That's what I'm going to cover today. But I hope you understand what is this analytics and why this analytics, right? Very difficult to process this large amount of data, so many different sources, so many different reports. We all need this a system or a solution which can bring everything together and help you to get the right information at the right time so that you can take the right decision. That process is called analytics, right? There are many companies leveraging this whole opportunity and building their business and today controlling the world, right? This whole thing. And some of the examples are in this slide, what you see. For example, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber. If you look at all these companies, they are billions of dollars company. They're all very new companies. They are not in the existence for hundreds of years. They're all brand new companies, 10 years, 5 years, 7 year, 12-year-old company today running and ruling the world today. Because what they've done, they built a software which can do the engineering of the data and the knowledge. Google is doing nothing but the same knowledge engineering. If you look at, right? Uber, what they do, Uber doesn't even have a single car by themselves. So what they do is actually they process the data of so many cars run by so many different drivers and so many passengers. So every time when I book an Uber, my data is being sent to Uber, right? Uber is collecting the data, processing the data, analyzing the data, and delivering the service using a third-party service provider or even a simple car driver along with a private, in a taxi car, right? So they are processing the knowledge, they are processing they are engineering this data, right? So that is how any company, the global entertainment company, Netflix, today they are the #1, right? So Amazon, e-commerce, Facebook, social media, right? Twitter, again, content management, Dropbox, document management, Airbnb, restaurant management. If you look at any of these companies, they don't have any physical assets. They all have software. What they all do very well is nothing but engineering this knowledge, engineering this data, and they are driving the economy today, right? So this is what I was talking about, the knowledge engineering and the knowledge economy world. And backend is nothing but everything what they do is nothing but data processing, analytics, and artificial intelligence. Let's look at some examples how they change the world. Today we don't read newspapers every day in the morning, just like the 20 years back. Even before bed coffee, we wanted newspapers to be read. But today we are reading these newspapers one day ahead itself in the in our phone, right? We read the books through Kindle. We don't listen music by storing so many video or music audio tapes or music albums. So everything be available in the YouTubes and other sorts of things, right? So many things are getting changed. Industries are also getting changed. For example, 20 years back, we had to go to a branch of a bank and take a token. At least 15 minutes we have to wait in the queue to withdraw 20,000 rupees or deposit something 10,000 rupees. Today, you can even open an account in 2 seconds by taking a selfie. You can transact everything in 2-3 seconds, right? Transfer, loan, anything and everything you can do online. So what happens is nothing but all the branch stuff, what they do. So it is completely getting disrupted. We had 13 telecommunication companies in India a few years back, but today how many we have? Three, and including BSNL 4, right? BSNL is almost dying. So this is how many industries are getting currently disrupted. In the future, because of this digital revolution, data revolution, analytics and intelligence revolution, many of these industries will continue to be disrupted, right? So just to give you an example, to give you a real good example of an AI, I'm not sure if you have heard about Google Duplex. Because we don't have so much of time, I'm not playing this video. But if you wanted to really listen to this 3-minute, 4-minute video, you can listen in YouTube. Just search Google Duplex. So what it does is nothing but on behalf of you, it is an AI engine, artificial intelligence engine, like Google Home or Alexa, what you can see. Based on your calendar schedule, it will do everything automatically for you like a secretary. This AI engine, it is not even a human being. But the person who is receiving on the other side, like for example, in the screen, you can see that this AI engine is calling a salon and booking a haircut, schedule for a haircut. Right? The saloon guy will not even realize that a robot is calling. Such a natural way this robot is calling, talking to the saloon expert and booking an appointment and making things happening. So it is not only just the saloon, it can be a restaurant, it can be a dental appointment, it can be anything. I'm just giving you one example how this can be changing, right? So this is a true AI, it is already happening in our houses, right? In our own homes. AI in our own home, which is a reality today, right? Not only in our own homes, many industries, many companies are also leveraging this in a big way, especially in the physical retail store. Amazon released a physical retail store powered by AI, which is called Amazon Go. The speciality of this Amazon Go showroom is nothing but you can just walk into that showroom, you can come out without any hurdle. You can just go inside, take whatever you want, you can come out. There is no billing, there is no security, there is no counter, there is no payment, nothing. You can simply walk in, scan your code, and then take items, whatever you want, and come out. Such an experience, right? Retail industry is transforming. Even when I heard it, even I was kind of doubtful how it is possible, right? No line, no checkout, no payment, no queue, no security, no counter, no nothing. You can just go inside and come out. But when I went to Chicago last year, so I personally went and saw one of this Amazon Go showroom. This is my picture. I'm standing in front of an Amazon showroom, right? Amazon Go showroom. How it is possible is nothing but artificial intelligence in the backend. They built a lot of AI-powered, artificial intelligence-based computer vision, sensor fusion, video analytics. So many things they brought in the backend, which is not visible to the end consumer, end customer, but they enable a seamless experience for the end user, right? So this is how industry is changing. It is not only that, any company, anywhere, it is going to be applicable. So you know that since I mentioned that we all live in a digital world, any and all the data is somehow connected to each other. The government, the hospitals, the education to our private to public, anything and everything is connected through social media, so many other channels. Now with this data, example, in this given COVID situation, imagine that you want to travel to a different country, or you are traveling from a different country. You have the passport, you have the visa, but still your entry to that particular country can be denied by the immigration officer because they have access to all this data. This whole data can be processed, analyzed, and then intelligence can be given to the immigration officer, saying that even if you are having the visa and the passport, but still you went into a containment zone, or you went into a red zone where there is COVID situation, and you purchase some medical medicines, fever medicines through an e-commerce portal. So you may be very susceptible to the COVID today, right? So we cannot allow you into the country. I'm just giving you a COVID contextualized example, right? How companies, how people, how government can use this intelligence and take better decision, right? So this is how the world is, right? This is how the world will change. And not only just a human being, even animals are going to be connected to the digital ecosystem. You can see that this smart chips are already implanted into many of the animals, especially on cows, to track their movements, health, and supply of milk, and so many other things, medicines, and so many things, right? So this is the world we are going to live in. So we'll also see a lot of automation happening into many of the manufacturing plants, where you can see that in this manufacturing plant, you cannot see even a single human. Everything is completely driven by AI-based system, completely automated, completely powered by analytics and AI. This analytics and AI will be infused in drug discovery, diagnosis, health diagnosis, customer service. You'll not be talking to a customer service human agent. You'll be talking to an AI agent soon. And many companies already started deploying this. And you can see facial recognition. In Dubai, you don't need to you don't need a visa. You don't need an immigration clearance. You can just go through a window where that will automatically clear you using AI, like facial recognition, many other things. Autonomous aerial weapons, right? UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles. So you can see it's again controlled by analytics and AI for launching strikes and for military purposes. So AI is going to be leveraged in many areas and big way, and that will transform many industries and domains and companies and countries as well. And that's a huge opportunity for all of us. And it is not only just the industries and companies and countries, even our human beings, right? Today, with the help of 3D printing and thermoplastic elastomer, using brain mapping technologies, you can create a digital human. You can create a digital Philip Varghese who will never die. It's very hard to believe, but it is a reality today. You can see that Sophia is a digital human who already got a citizenship in Saudi Arabia a couple of years back. And you can see so much of people standing in front of Sophia to take to have a press conference. right? This is a reality, right? And you can see people standing next to Sophia to take photograph, selfie, right? AI powered human augmentation. So this is what it is called, right? Human augmentation. So we are going to have a lot of opportunities. Even in the board of directors, you will have a virtual CFO. You will have a virtual board of director powered by this AI. I won't be wondering if there is a robot coming and sitting in a board of directors meeting, because that is how the world is changing. That's how the world is moving, right? Companies are leveraging this analytics and AI data in multiple different fashion. I just shown you certain examples. Today, companies started looking at data from social media, their corporate data, sensor and meter data for security and other things, public data and private data to take better decisions, to understand the market risk, competitive intelligence, etc. So they use all this data to understand how their customers are buying, right? What is their customer behavior? How to optimize their inventory? How to make their marketing campaigns more in a precision way, or in a better way, right? How they can alert people to have better experience in terms of delivering, getting their services and products, right? Customer interactions can be, and see, you can see that in the Corona times, people cannot travel to a call center to give you support. But at the same time, imagine AI can be deployed that can give you better service in some times, right? So shopping cart recommendation, as I mentioned. So there are many areas today. Companies are leveraging this data and using analytics in their decision making process. There are different types of analytics. I just want to give you a quick snapshot of the different types of analytics. Many of you may already know all these things, but people who are already in the call who may not know these things, for their benefit, I thought I'll just give a high level overview. What kind of analytics are there? There are majorly 4 types of analytics. One is descriptive analytics. The descriptive analytics is nothing but simple operational reporting. That means what happened. So what happened in terms of today, if you look at the Corona situation, how many people are infected, how many people died, how many people are in the hospitals today, how many people recovered, right? By region, by country, by state. So that is what happened, right? It's like just like the sales reports. How much is my sales? What is my revenue by region, by product? What happened? What has happened, right? That's what is descriptive analytics. Now, if you want to look at why did it happen, if you want to double click and understand, okay, products by region, by state and district, if you want to double click, drill down, filter down by a product type, revenue by product, revenue by region, revenue by department. If you want to understand why it happened, that is called diagnosis analytics. Now, based on this information, if you want to predict what will happen in the future, okay, based on the current situation, what would be my sales in the next 3 years? What will be, how my P&L will look like in the next 2 quarters? So that will be like a predictive analytics. What will happen, right? So you can see that a lot of predictive analytics can be applied to understand the forecasting and prediction of your business and risk and so on. There is one more analytics called prescriptive analytics. It's nothing but an advisory, like a doctor. Okay, if you wanted to really reach there, what you should do. If you want to avoid this risk, what you should be doing. It's like an advisory, consultative. It's a prescription, right? So we call it as prescriptive analytics. Now, here is where simple operational analytics, here is where advanced analytics, and here is where machine learning and artificial intelligence will come into picture into the prescriptive analytics area. And if you see, the more value we will get when it can predict and tell you what you should be doing, right? The more value. But if you look at the difficulty and the complexity, it is more here. This is simple, the simplest one, simpler one, kind of difficult one, and very difficult, most difficult, prescriptive. This is very difficult. So that's how this chart will help you understand the different types of analytics and where you need to start and how you need to progress to this next level. This is a different, again, complexity. It's not just difficulty, but also from a complexity perspective. It's very complex to have prescriptive analytics because you need to have a lot of knowledge has to be engineered, a lot of huge volume of data is required, complex algorithms and machine learning is required to have this prescriptive, right? Predictive analytics, you can use standard statistical model and mathematical model to predict things. Diagnostics and descriptive are simple, easy to do from a value realization perspective. So this is a visual representation of different types of data analytics. We will look at mostly into the advanced analytics areas in the coming slides. In the AI, just to give you a kind of high-level understanding of different types of AI, you have analytical AI, functional AI, AI means artificial intelligence, interactive AI, text AI, visual AI. So, for example, you can see whenever you log into whenever you come to a website or something like that, you can immediately see a chatbot is coming and saying that chat with me, I am your agent, I am here to help you, right? Interactive AI. So functional AI, you have already seen a lot of robots and other things, which I'll show you in the coming slide. Analytical AI is to understand the risk of your supplier, right? Or customer experience, customer sentiment analysis, tonality. Text engineering is nothing. Text AI is nothing but I already told you about the example of the girl commanding to the Alexa saying that okay, turn off my AC, right? So how the machine understand that text voice, right? She can talk in Hindi or Malayalam or Tamil or English or any language, but how the machine understand that. So that's where speech to text conversion and text analytics, text engineering, and so on. The visual AI is something like what I already shown you about the Amazon example in the Amazon Go showroom. Computer vision, augmented reality, and everything will come into the visual AI space. These are different types of AI in the advanced analytics and AI space. This AI is built using a methodology called machine learning. So machine learning is something like machine has to learn to have the intelligence, artificial intelligence, right? So there are multiple ways of learning. The one is the supervised learning. The other one is unsupervised learning. The third one is reinforcement learning. Now, just to explain this in key, simple language, like a layman's language explanation. When as a human being, each one of us, like you and me in the call, we learn a lot of knowledge. We learn so many things in our life, right? Certain things we learn through a curriculum where we have to go to school or college, right? We have to learn so many things where somebody will be teaching us. So that is what supervised learning. So we need to teach the machine to learn something, right? New, intelligently. So we need to. So that's what the supervised learning. Certain things we don't learn from the school curriculum. We learn from interacting with each other, our own experience-based learning. So that is what is supervised learning. Sometimes we need to really, people, if they don't learn from both the things, then we need to really, reinforce them to learn. So that's the third methodology called reinforcement learning. There are so many areas this kind of machine learning is being leveraged for fraud detection, computer vision, predictions, learnings, customer segmentation, marketing. There are so many areas these technologies are already used, and then only we will be building the actual AI outcomes in the as a result. So, for example, in the stock market, you can see in the news how the stock market is behaving. People can use analytics to understand the trend. If Amazon wants to have a big billion day, or Flipkart has to have a big billion day, big sale day, they have to predict how many people have to come into my website. If they are expecting 10,000 people, and then eventually if 1 lakh people coming into their website will crash. They'll not be able to deliver their service. So they have to predict, right? So similarly, there are so many areas in the smart grid. They know that so much of megawatt or gigawatts of electricity will be used, but or on a particular time the consumption will go high because of the climate change. So then they have to be prepared. How do you really predict and prepare for that? That's what the regression. So there are different algorithms and methodologies used in advanced analytics and machine learning and AI space. Classification, another one. You can see that in your Gmail. You can see there's a spam folder. Automatically all the spam emails will be automatically going there. How it is possible? How it is possible? There are 30 lakh emails are going and up and down every second. How Gmail will know that this mail is spam? They will be using AI, right? In finance, classification algorithms can be used to do fraud detection, loan default prediction. There are so many things can be used. So I'm skipping some of these algorithms details, but I just want to give you more examples how industry is adopting this. Even in an airlines, right? These engines you can see here, each engine is producing 10 terabyte data every 30 minutes, then 20 terabyte data in 1 hour. 4 engines with 80 terabyte data they use. Why they are collecting so much of data and using this? You'll be surprised that only 7% of the time or lesser the pilot is really flying this flight. The rest of the time software flies and the artificial intelligence algorithms will be flying this flight. because they are collecting this data to understand the vibration, temperature, pressure, wear and tear, any issues. It will be continuously, constantly monitored, analyzed, and then processed by this AI engines, right? So Los Angeles Police Department started using this analytics to really predict crime, and they were able to reduce 21% violent crimes, right? And they were able to reduce 33% burglaries. So they were able to use the data, analyze the data, and predict who is going to commit what crime. Amazon, I already told you, there are so many examples. The product recommendations. United Parcel Services is a truck company, a parcel truck company. They spend nearly 7,000 crore rupees in a year to only in analytics, in the big data analytics area, to take better decisions. Like Tom, right? Tom is a CFO. Imagine our Tom is a CFO of UPS, and he can take almost $1 billion he is spending just to do analytics. Why he has to spend $1 billion? Having one car itself is difficult, two cars is more difficult. Then imagine a CFO has to manage 1 lakh vehicles on the road, right? It's not that easy. So they are using this analytics to understand the wear and tear of the vehicles, predictive maintenance, driver behavior in terms of driving, who needs better coaching, to prevent any fraud, by route map analysis. So they fixed a lot of IoT, the sensors in all these vehicles to understand all these areas and take better decisions. 1 lakh vehicles, 1 liter petrol or diesel, if they can save per day for the 1 lakh liter petrol, and then you can imagine into multiple, right? So in a month, how many millions of dollars they'll be saving only by saving 1 liter petrol in a day, right? So imagine how they'll be using analytics to take better decisions, right? McDonald's, even nowadays you can see that you will get message if you are crossing a McDonald's showroom, if your mobile number is at any point of time given to McDonald's, that your favorite burger is available here at 30% discount, please come in and have a burger, right? They're just simply selling $50 50 rupees burger, but still they are leveraging your data, analyzing your data to give you a better experience and better sales, increase their sales, right? Rolls-Royce, similar way, analyze millions of data coming from their engines to predict the failure by analyzing their vibration, temperature, pressure, speed, etc., etc. And even via satellite to a computer that analyzing this data, right? So more than hundreds of sensors will be collecting this data in real time. Shell is using analytics in a big way to mine petroleum, to have the right petroleum to be mined. You can see that not only these large companies, even small restaurants started adopting this AI adoption. You will see a lot of smart robots coming and serving you to give you a better experience. Coimbatore, one hotel, I think at least 2 years back, they introduced a robot, right? So robots are serving. You can see autonomous cars. There is no driver in this car. This is completely AI on wheels, artificial intelligence on wheels, right? Google car. It collects a lot of data in real time using the sensors which are attached to this, process the data in real time, and take the decision whether to apply brake or increase speed, take right or take left, whether in a traffic signal, whether to apply brake and stop there, right? So it takes a lot of data in real time, analyzes, and then run. AI on wheels. You can see the small robot here. He is a health advisor here. Now this health advisor is an intelligent advisor. You can see that he'll be giving different exercise to different people, because this health advisor, this robot, will be receiving data from the people from their health band, and can give personalized health instructions. So that's how the world is changing, right? Virtual medical assistants. This example I already told you. You can simply say that, turn on my light, turn off my temperature, AC, increase the AC temperature, play this music. It is really possible. Now, when all these things are getting into intelligent way, our homes will be smarter, our societies will be smarter, our cities will be smarter, our nation will be smarter. That's what we call the smart cities, right? So this is all can be possible using analytics and AI. And coming back into the accounts and finance area of the analytics and AI, there are various areas in finance and accounts. Analytics and AI is used a big time. Actually, some of the examples I want to show you here, whether it is in the entire cycle of procurement to pay, right? So that means if you want to procure certain items from a certain set of vendors, right from vendor selection, the whole requisition, the items required, right? The requisition management to vendor evaluation to vendor selection to supply management to payment management. Everything can be entire procurement to pay operations. Lot of examples where analytics and AI is used. How do you ensure you have the right pricing contract? How do you identify duplicate payments or double payments? How do you understand how do you detect fraud because in a very large organization where a company has operations in 120 countries, then it is very difficult to manage their procurement and payment operations in 120 countries being a global CFO, right? So you need to have a lot of systems and analytics and intelligence in place to collect all the data, process it to prevent any fraud, to understand the process compliance, expense management. In order to cash process, you can see that you need to do a lot of analysis on the accounts receivable. You need to understand if there is any revenue leakage. How do you effectively collect your cash from from various of your vendors or suppliers or customers, right? How do you reduce the disputes? Intercompany reconciliation and reporting area, there are a lot of analytics can be applied from a record to report area, right? In the financial planning and analytics, a lot of analytics is being applied to for predictive management, predictive analytics, forecasting, etc., right? To predict your revenue, to forecast your cash, to do any reporting from a regulatory perspective. A lot of areas analytics is being applied in a very big way. Especially in cash flow forecast analysis, you can see working capital analysis there. Daily payable, days payable outstanding analysis can be done. Inventory turnover to have a better procurement decision, right? Inventory turnover can be analyzed. Net cash flow analysis has to be done to understand the cash flow forecasting. So many areas you can leverage analytics in accounts and finance. In the account receivable, again, you can do a lot of credit term analysis to have a better decision to whom you need to have some flexibility. You can have a lot of late payment analytics. That means certain of your partners may not pay you on the right time, right? If you are having 10,000 customers, if they don't pay you on time, right, there can be huge late payment that will impact your cash flow, right? How do you predict who are all your potential late payment customers, right? How do you understand their behavior? How do you predict any disputes between the transactions, right? Especially in the account receivables. So similarly in accounts payable also, PO analysis, one purchase order analytics is big one area, because there are so many payments would be released with the PO, without PO, right? Petty caches. When your operations are running to huge volumes in multi-country, multi-departments, multi-divisions, multi-entities, even $1 per transaction can be, in millions of loss. If you look at every invoice per se, right? So how do you detect and prevent this? So how do you understand the inventory? How do you understand the working capital? How do you take better decision on your working capital? Is all can be analyzed using, by leveraging your data and applying analytics to have better insights into your financial operations. Payables aging. Imagine that there are 10 suppliers, you need to make the payment, and somehow if it is getting missed, then obviously a lot of legal and penalties will come, and eventually that will have a financial loss for you, right? So how do you predict payment aging, payable agings, and trend payment aging trend analytics? So that's another area, late payment impact analytics. So these are all areas where you can leverage analytics in your finance and account operations. And going forward, being a finance and accounts executive, this would be your role as an advisor, as a consultant to business stakeholder to take better decisions, because the rest everything is done by softwares and applications. So an accounts executive, a finance executive, commerce executives, their primary role is going to analyze all this data and take better decisions, or help business executive to take the better decisions. These are examples where you can leverage analytics to have better decisions for your finance and accounts operations. Some of the major areas, I just split it into 4 bigger categories in accounts and finance. Analytics opportunities. Revenue leakage analytics is a big area where enough and more potential there. Predictive cost and margin analytics. This is directly managing your P&L and balance sheet. Spend and expense management. Again, your bottom line and top line analytics. Sales and revenue analytics. These are 4 areas where there is a huge adoption of analytics in accounts and finance. Right. There are intelligent systems are built to really predict automatically, where accounts and finance executives' knowledge, domain experience, expertise is leveraged by analytics experts, and they together build these kind of systems. So that's a huge opportunity for us. Just to give you a view of what kind of roles from a finance and accounts perspective, there are 3 major roles in analytics and AI. One is a data analyst or a data consultant. The second category is data engineer, and third category is data scientist. Now, based on your interest, passion, knowledge, and experience and expertise, you can choose any of these areas. But traditionally, most of the accounts professionals are not coming from a software or engineering background. And this may be a suitable area for an accounts and finance professional to start a career in data science and analytics because they have the domain knowledge. So the data analyst or data consultant job is nothing but you know the domain, you understand what the business needs, you can leverage your domain expertise to build intelligent insights, right? So you'll be able to help analytics teams to build better metrics, better key insights about their business. Now, once you define this business requirements, you need data engineers who are typically the platform or application or software engineers. They have to process a lot of data. They have to bring a lot of data from different systems to one system. They have to set up infrastructure. They have to set up a cloud. They have to set up server storages. They have to implement and install a lot of softwares, and they have to process a lot of huge amount of data, etc., to build the intelligence and insights what this data analyst would need. Right now, the third category is data scientist, who will be mostly playing with this data to predict, or understand the behavior and build a complex intelligence and insights using a lot of algorithms, right? So they are like a stats or mathematics background, professionals with a lot of statistical and mathematical algorithms knowledge, and they also have a programming capability to use systems like R or Python softwares for machine learning, etc., to build these intelligent systems. So these are the 3 major roles for anybody who wants to build a career in analytics and AI. But for accounts and finance, probably this may be the easiest route to start with, because these 2 requires either a lot of statistical and mathematical algorithmic knowledge or a lot of engineering background, right? If you have the passion and interest to learn and do this, enough and more opportunities there. So as I mentioned, these are the 4 characteristics of an ideal data scientist. If you wanted to become the last data scientist kind of a role, a lot of knowledge in math and statistics. You would need to have some kind of idea about, not some kind of good amount of idea about how programming and database functions. Then a very strong domain knowledge is required in that particular industry or a function, HR, finance, supply chain, etc. respective area. They should be having a very strong domain knowledge. And then eventually data scientists have to work with a lot of stakeholders, and that is where communication has to be delivered in a very, very well structured thought process way, right? So you should be able to tell a story using a lot of visualization, other things. I'm skipping this. So when we are building this AI and other thing, there are some risks also, because these AI systems are built by human being. It is prone to make a lot of mistakes and risk threats as well. So one of the things is actually we need to ensure that whatever the analytics and AI systems we are building and using, it has the ethical aspects embraced into this. It has to be transparent and explainable. Why it has taken, why this AI solution has taken this decision, right? So it has to be explaining the decision process. And if the decision is wrong, the AI has to be responsible. And who is accountable? Who is responsible, right? And eventually we need to build AI systems which has to produce very, very accurate precision, high precision outcomes, right? So these are some of the things we should keep in mind when we are building, dealing, and managing analytics and AI systems in our roles, right? This same AI systems, if it hands into the wrong hands, the AI systems can be tuned or customized to do wrong things. Even sometimes AI systems can be used as lethal weapons, right? The fighter jets controlled by AI, which is carrying a nuclear weapon. If it lands into the wrong hands, then you understand now what kind of damage it can happen, right? AI-powered cyber attacks can happen, right? A lot of you already seen that many cyber attacks happening, and today even cyber criminals are using AI to really launch attacks. Biased content delivery. If you don't use AI, the content itself can be biased for specific interest, and you have already seen that in various elections in US and Europe and even India. There are a lot of controversies where there that people use AI to give you biased content to influence your decisions, right? Influence decisions. These are some of the things we should keep in mind when we deal with AI systems. And the need of the hour is that we build AI systems which are having a lot of compliance. There has to be governance. There has to be policies in place. There has to be legal accountability. And what are the AI system, analytic systems we are dealing? The most important purpose of this AI system is to deliver more value rather than just a technological advantage. And it has to be ecosystem oriented. It is not that one team, one person can change, bring in AI and change everything. It's not that. Everybody has to come together to make this happen. That ecosystem has to come together, right? The biggest opportunity is to quantify this uncertainty. That means a large complex volume has to be quantified to clear the uncertainty and build, deliver right intelligence, right information, right actionable insights for the executives to take a better decision. Huge opportunities. About 15 lakh, actually in the latest report you can see into 2018, 30 lakh analytics experts required in US itself. 30 lakh people. Then imagine globally how many lakhs, how many crores of people who are required to be analytics expert, even if they are not data scientist guys, but at least people who know data science, the basics of analytics, basics of advanced analytics. The huge amount of opportunities. People who are having the exposure to these areas and skill set will have enough and more opportunities out there in the market, right? So this is what the opportunity for all of us, and there is a huge shortage of people, and this is the time we would. I think we are already late, but still, this is at least we can make a start today, that building a workforce which is ready for future, right? Who can deal, who can manage, who can grow, who can drive these AI-powered systems-driven organizations. So that's it from me, and thank you very much. I would take the rest of the time for any question and see if you have, and if I know the answers, definitely I'm happy to share that as well.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. So, dear attendees, the forum is open for questions now. So you have a raise hand button on your screen. If you have any questions, kindly click on the raise hand button and unmute yourself. Rasika K, if you have a question, kindly unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself, please. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Chiranjeevlu, if you have a question, can you please unmute yourself? You're muted at your end. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yes, please, you're audible. Kindly go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I'm P. Chiranjeevlu from Secunderabad. Kindly let me know, is there any specialized course available in artificial intelligence?
Thank you, sir, for the question. Very relevant and interesting. In fact, this is a very huge area, sir. Actually, in analytics itself, I can list about more than 40 major towers, right? In artificial intelligence itself, there are multiple towers. Probably I can go back to my previous slide, just to show you, as I mentioned, right, there are natural language processing, text analytics, right? That's a huge area. Visual video analytics, image analytics is another area. Actual data science, using predictive machine learning, etc., that's another area. So there are many areas within artificial intelligence where you can have certification, but you cannot have all these things coming together. It's very, I mean, technically possible. It's up to the capability of the resource or person to really how much they can learn, but it is a very huge area. What I would recommend is actually based on your interest, you may select an area, understand the fundamentals, and then choose an area and go deep dive into this. So what I would strongly recommend, spend some good amount of time to understand these basic areas. Like within artificial intelligence, there is a machine learning. I already told you about multiple types of machine learning. Then you have artificial neural networks. So then many other things will come, right? So what I would recommend is actually you can choose one or two areas and then go deep into this once you have the foundational understanding. Whichever area makes you very passionate and interesting, you can choose that area. It can be video analytics, computer vision, or it can be text analytics, natural language processing, or it can be IoT analytics, or it can be sentiment analysis, right? So that is what I would recommend. I don't want to name any vendor here because I want to be vendor neutral. There are so many courses available, but it is not just about the certificate, or it's not just about the course. It is about what the skill we build over a period of time, and what role we are going to play with that skill. Now, if I am a commerce experienced resource with 10 years of experience in accounts and finance department, now all of a sudden, do I need to switch to a data scientist by doing a lot of coding, etc.? Then it may make sense to have a certification in deep learning and all these advanced analytics, data science, etc. But if I want to apply my knowledge along with analytics, I need to understand the basics and foundations of the analytics and advanced analytics, not to the level of coding and to the extent of a lot of data science, all the algorithms, etc. Knowledge is good, knowing is good, but it has to be based on what exactly the role and where you're going to apply. For the sake of taking a certificate, I don't recommend that, because eventually that has to be useful. Unless otherwise you wanted to specifically target, you have a target, okay, I want to complete 5 certification in AI, then you can do that. Otherwise, I don't personally recommend that route.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have Sameta Kunani. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, sir. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, you were talking about artificial intelligence and about robots. So I just wanted to ask whether what roles human will be playing here, because business analytics is a part of human or AI, or what will human be playing a role? What is the role of a human here?
See, the AI or analytics or advanced analytics, any of these things, how to augment what humans are doing today. Okay, the purpose and idea of this is not to replace human beings. So in any of these examples you look at, I think the examples what you're seeing, that you didn't see humans in many other places because AI systems are doing. So what AI systems are doing or analytics systems are going to do is to help human to do better, right, or take better decisions, or do better, or help in their activities, right? But at the same time, whatever we are doing in a traditional model, which is repeatable, predictable, in a mundane task model, that will be automated by robots and these AI systems. That is where you will see a lot of job loss. If you don't upskill or reskill ourselves along with this AI systems, then we will lose a lot of job, right? Just the example as I given, my father was an accountant who used to write in a book. When Tally or SAP or Oracle came into picture, many people who were simple accountants who are entering into books all their expense and sales in books, they lost it. If they don't upgrade themselves to operate a computer, operate a Tally, then they will be losing the job, because already it is done by Tally, right? So AI analytics or advanced analytics solutions are supposed to augment, help to humans to do better in their jobs, to give more experience, to give more productivity, not to replace humans. So wherever is replacing, if you're not upskilling and reskilling yourselves to manage this AI-driven systems, then that is a problem.
Oh, okay, so you're trying to tell me that the decision-making part will still be remaining with the humans, but only the part where information has to be given would be taken over by the AI.
No, so the even decision making also will be done by AI. For example, the recommendation what you see in Amazon or Flipkart, or when your credit card, unfortunately, if a cyber criminal is forging your credit card and making a transaction in Nigeria, banking system may automatically prevent that. Sometimes a lot of AI is also playing in the backend. So the AI is automatically taking a decision to prevent a fraud transaction, right? So certain areas AI can take decisions, certain areas humans have to take decision, and that is what I was referring. So when we build this AI systems, we need to consider this ethical aspects, transparency aspect, legal accountability aspects, everything into consideration. Why this AI is being used, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. N. Prabhakar, could you please unmute yourself? Dr. N. Prabhakar. Okay, we'll move on. Narmada P, could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the purpose of data analytics in aircraft? Could you please explain that part again?
Data analytics and sorry.
In aircraft.
Oh, data analytics
Aircraft.
and aircraft, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
The modern aircrafts, are built with a lot of new age, new next generation machines, right? So these machines are built with a lot of sensors attached to this, and these sensors will collect a lot of data in real time to understand whether this machine or the engine is working perfectly, whether the temperature is going above and beyond as per the normal levels, not only just the temperature, pressure, humidity, wear and tear, because anything which is going beyond the standard configured measures can have a trouble in the aircraft, right? It can cause engine failures, so which will crash the aircraft, right? So what these sensors will collect, will do exactly, they will collect this data near almost real-time basis. They will collect all these sensor, temperature, pressure, vibration, humidity, oil levels, the fuel levels. They will collect the data about all these things. They will analyze this in real time to ensure that there is no problem while flying the aircraft, right? So even in the flight, they collect this data in real time. So this data is analyzed in real time to help the pilot to safely land the aircraft into the runway. So that is one of the use cases. There are so many other use cases, but this is one of the use cases.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can be please unmute yourself. Prashant B, if you have a question, please unmute yourself.
Very good evening, sir. This is Prashant here.
Yes, sir.
First of all, a very interactive and one informative session, sir. My question to you is, can AI be hacked?
I think the answer is straightforward. Answer is yes, sir. AI can be hacked. That's I always mention that already there are so many AI systems, can be hacked. There are examples. Some of them I don't want to mention it here. But if you don't build it in a secured way, it can be hacked. For example, I can give you general examples. As I already mentioned, this F-16 fighter jets, right? They carry nuclear weapons, and there is no pilot inside them. It's all driven by softwares and AI-based systems. Now, imagine a cyber criminal hacking into the F-16 missile or the fighter jet, and they can control where they want to drop that nuclear bomb, right? So it is all possible, right? And another system, another way is actually in the drug discovery. If the drug discovery is using AI, then somebody can alter the measures. Now what happens, you will still produce the medicine, but that will never have the effect of the medicine because the measures are already manipulated by the cyber criminals. So anything
Okay.
and
So,
everything which is in the,
sorry to interrupt you, sir. So, how can we secure this, sir?
so that is where another new emerging topic, cyber security, is coming up. So
Okay.
you need to secure the application, you need to secure the data, you need to secure the infrastructure, you need to secure the people, right? Cyber security is a very, very emerging, another big topic. We can have a similar session if you want, cyber security. But cyber security is very, very important. But more than that, each one of us have the responsibility of making these systems secure, right? While giving the specifications, giving the hypothesis, giving the problem statement, giving the advisory, giving the inputs, developing the software, deploying the software, we all have the responsibility to ensure that we bring in the security mindset. So some hackers should not be hacking my system. How can I prevent any type of hacking, right? So that is by thinking, by design, by culture. I think each one of us bring the responsibility of securing these kind of intelligent systems.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So in the interest of time, we can take one last question. Rasika K, could you please unmute yourself? Okay, we'll move on. Gauri, we have Sagyaraj KL. Sir, could you please unmute yourself? Yes, sir, you're audible.
Sir, very wonderful talk. Having listened to this talk, can AI replace our human approach, sir?
Not really, sir. AI is supposed to augment humans. AI is not supposed to replace the human being. But wherever, if we are not upgrading, upskilling, and reskilling ourselves, which we are doing in a traditional, repeatable, predictable way, as I was mentioning, just like the factories, how machine came, right? How the tires and tubes came to, replace the earlier bureaucrat. So just like the way AI also will replace certain predictable, automatable, repeatable task, mundane task done by a human being, that will be definitely automatable. That will replace many of the jobs. But there are huge number of opportunities are coming for people who are upskilling and reskilling, who needs to manage this AI, drive this AI, build this AI, and engage with this AI. A huge opportunity. I don't think there is any replacement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philip, for answering the questions. Dear attendees, announcement. So a feedback link will be sent to all your email addresses within an hour after we finish this presentation. Kindly fill the feedback form in order to get an e-certificate. Now, I would request Sharmila ma'am to, take up the vote of thanks to the speaker.
Good evening. On behalf of the Department of Commerce at Raj College for Women, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the speaker of this evening's session, Mr. Philip Verghese, VP and Global Head of Applied Intelligence and Analytics, Accenture, for having taken time out to provide his valuable insights on developing a future workforce for the business analytics and AI-driven enterprises. Sir, it was indeed a very interesting and informative session. Thank you very much for outlining the necessity for future-proofing our workforce and for providing very valuable pointers which will help us get ready for the world of tomorrow. I would like to thank the Chairman, Board of Trustees and Principal, Etherage College for Women for giving us an opportunity to conduct such pertinent sessions during these challenging times. This session would not have been possible without the support of our partners, Miles Education and Wiley Publications. I thank Mr. Michael and Mr. Harish for their immense contribution in the conduct of this webinar. I thank Dr. Punjabi Mala Devidas, Head Department of Commerce Aided and convener of today's webinar, and Dr. A.S. Gayatri, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce Aided, and Organizing Secretary for their valuable support and guidance. I thank Mrs. Shruti, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce Self-Supporting, for the e-certificates. Last but definitely not the least, I thank all the attendees for their enthusiastic participation, which made this session an interactive one. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.